What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Josh Helm here with Texas Best Construction, and today I'm back over here at the Barndominium, where we've been making a ton of progress. We got a shop and we've got the living, which I'm going to head on over here and show you a little bit of that. It's a muddy mess today. I was bringing a dumpster container here, but you know what I want to talk today in today's video is share with you guys why I will not build anything but a hybrid barndominium, as they say. To me, it's just a barndominium, but the methods that we use actually has a little bit of a different take on it, and I want to get into that. So at the same time, show you guys this progress on the barndominium. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get it going. Guys, so one of the things that I feel like I needed to discuss, and sometimes, you know, we spend time and I try to think, okay, what have I not talked about? And, you know, I think I've heard people phrase the style of build that we build being a hybrid barndominium. And my thoughts about it are like, I don't really like that. Like, I'm just building barndominiums. But I'm thinking, hey, let's just go with gravity here. Everybody likes to classify, and why not just run with it? And so what I'm saying is why I will not build anything but a hybrid barndominium. And a lot of it has to do when you're making efforts to build, you're trying to come up with, okay, a philosophy on, you know, how things are going to function. And, you know, as we entertained our processes in the beginning, we started thinking about, okay, there's people like certain companies who build that are kind of going with the old methods where you're trying to get ventilated attics and you're trying to get vented soffits. And when you have wood framing involved, sometimes those are just part of the discussion. You know, the whole adage that houses need to breathe. And I like what my buddy Matt Reisinger says, and he says, houses don't need to breathe, people need to breathe. And so, you know, the whole building science behind a lot of what today's technologies are to build with airtightness and to build with the emphasis on moisture and air barrier. And so that's a lot of where everything's headed. Well, when it comes to the barndominium, you know, if I'm going to stay current with the times and where the future and everything with building codes and everything where it's headed with energy efficiencies and the ratings and all this kind of stuff, then we have to have a good process to build. And so that's the reason why from the get-go, when we started framing our walls and things like that, I wanted a good tight seal around my windows and doors, which is where we set out. And initially I wasn't using you know, the zip product that we use. I was using like just an OSB, and you know, then it just became and evolved into a little bit more. And so you know, taking that step to do zip everywhere we go at the time wasn't a big decision, you know, because at the time we were paying like, you know, maybe $13 a sheet, $10 a sheet for zip, and OSB was like, say, $8. So you're spending another $4. It's not a major ordeal. Of course, you pay a little bit more for your liquid flashing and your tape and all these kind of things, but it wasn't like this major thing that we moved into. But of course, as we've carried that standard with the rising cost and the way everything's happened with pricing, it's become a completely different evolution of cost. You know, because I've, you know, just this past week seen prices soar to $70 a sheet for zip. which, this is 2022, and about 2 years ago, I got receipts paying $13. So that's where you're seeing a lot of variation in cost, and why, at least on our end, there's this need for, taking the prices up. But a lot of that has to do as well with our standard and why we build a certain way. I have been contacted numerous times, people that have had trouble with their barndominiums. And sometimes I've taken the opportunities to go out and to meet. So, you can learn a lot about the future by studying the past. And so, I have taken the opportunities when they've come to go look and to kind of do a little bit of research. And some of the biggest complaints that I've seen people make about their barndominiums, not the ones that we built, but ones that they've built or they did it on their own or things like that, is when they came in and they just maybe built a metal building, spray foamed the walls, built their studs on the inside. I've heard a lot of horror stories about this when it comes to humidity, when it comes to condensation, when it comes to windows leaking. A lot of times you don't realize it, but the spray foam will push those panels out of the wall if you're just depending on your metal panel, unless you've taken extra measures around those windows to secure those. So, don't be deceived. Building a barndominium is not necessarily this great way all the time to save money unless you're willing to compromise a lot of your finish schedules and a lot of your flashing measures. So as far as we're concerned, I built conventional houses, I build barndominiums, and so you're trading steel cost for wood framing. But better part of our steel structures are actually mostly supporting just the roof. So this is not like, of course you got your beams on the walls, which we fasten to, and we have our fasteners where we have, the guns and stuff like that. Well, we'll shoot into those beams to make attachment, just like you would see like in a commercial application. So our guys are used to working with the steel. But on the flip side of that, our measures that we take are based on coming up with the best process that we've found that works for building a barndominium. Now, a lot of that is the reason why our costs are associated with where they're at. We've taken on a lot of work. We have a large amount of work to do, schedule to keep, and we're trying to get as much done as we can. But, with some of the rising cost of lumber and the rising costs that we faced over the last year, it really put us in a tailspin, trying to, we were taking on more jobs. Meanwhile, you feel your margins are just shrinking. You just don't have near as much ability to scale and to hire additional help. And so it's put all of our people under great strain, during this time. And so, in looking forward, you often think, well, should we consider other options as far as doing the exterior system the way we're doing? And we're doing that. We're looking into other options to where, I don't want to pay $70 a sheet for zip, so that's not something that I'm wanting to do continuously. But at the end of the day, it represents a large part of what we have presented as a hybrid barndominium. So getting into the thoughts about a hybrid barndominium, a lot of times they're describing a hybrid barndominium because it's a mixture of wood framing as well as steel framing. Now, everybody has a little bit of wood framing most of the time, even when you don't have your main, like, purlin walls on the outside. So if I was to show you like a shop build where you have the purlins, like on our shop build out here, we have purlin walls. A doing it some of this typical traditional way, and a lot of people who are doing DIY or whatever, the goal is, let's get us a metal building built, and then we'll come in and frame it out ourselves later, and they'll scab onto those purlins. Or they might build it independently. I think there's other methods that people are taking. But the one thing that it doesn't give you the opportunity to do is to create that air barrier necessarily on the other side, unless you're trying to install something between the purlins and the wood framing. So you're really you're just completely depending on spray foam. And I've made it a practice in our business to say, hey, I like spray foam. I like the closed cell foam, especially where it's more dense. But I don't want to fully 100% rely on spray foam to seal, especially like on the exterior walls around our windows and door flashings and all those kind of things. I don't want to be behind the 8-ball whenever it comes to those things for the longevity of the life of the build. And so our principle, our thought process along that way is, let's have the best system we can, so that moving down the road, this is not something that can be it's above reproach in that sense, and we're not having to come back and revisit bad methods, bad practices, all these kind of things. So when it comes to our shell and our exterior finishes, this is the way we build it. We take our main frame is our roof, like what you guys saw us do on the update video, the previous video for this build. We're standing up the steel framing. We got all of our roof purlins running, and that's what supports the roof. This enables us to have larger spans in living areas like this one, where we're spanning up and having a free span open space where it gives you high vaulted ceilings. You don't always get that in a traditional frame without having to build additional trusses, and that's very expensive right now. It takes a lot of extra time to get trusses. Matter of fact, a very notable builder in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex actually here recently said, we're not going to build any more two-story builds. It's all going to be single-story because you can't get the floor joists and truss systems that we need to get. It's taking a tremendous amount more time to get a lot of that stuff. And so this is playing into our market. This is affecting us on two-story builds. Can I still get trusses? Yes, we can. It just means there might be some delays in waiting for some of that framing. So there's a lot of challenges still that we're facing with windows, doors, of course, lumber prices, all these types of things. But, that's a big part of what's driving cost is lumber and steel prices. So you got to kind of pick a direction, and you don't know which one's going to go crazy, next week or next month. And so that's kind of where, we're having to kind of ride the waves of unpredictability. But so the hybrid barndominium is a 2x6 exterior studded wall for us. This is our method. We're using a 2x6 exterior studded wall. Now, by using 2x6s, it actually gives you the benefit of being able to go to a 2-foot span on studs on occasions. You could go to a 2-foot span on your vertical studs, allowing for more insulation. And we're using the sheathing, so it's giving us more shear strength on the outside before we install like our exterior panel system that we're going to put for the final sheeting that we're going to use. And so, but having that zip system, that sheathing that we're installing on the outside, is providing a lot of strength to the wall systems as well. So we're using it we're using it for every advantage that we can. We're using it for the air barrier that we can create by doing tight seals and covering up penetrations. We're using it for the system that it provides. We're using it for shear strength, and we're using it because it gives us a good barrier behind when we spray foam those outside walls. And what we'll do is we'll use a closed cell foam in that space because it's a little bit more porous, but we like to feel the void. Now, would it be better to use a closed cell? Well, you can. It's just closed cell is a little bit more difficult to work with for those spaces, and you can't afford. I mean, you got the more density, but it's not practical to include that as part of our standard. Not saying that nobody can afford it. It's just it's more expensive, and so it's more expensive by the inch. You pay extra money per the inch on a closed cell versus open cell. And it's already so expensive, everything's so expensive as it is, but this is the practice that we use. Now on our roof lines where we have our metal, we'll actually use our closed cell foam up there to create that thermal break between the metal and the insulation that's below, and then we'll add an additional 4.5 inches to the of open cell onto the bottom side of that. So that's the method that we're using, and it works really well here in our neck of the woods. It is a closed, airtight system. So on days where you got to run your HVAC system, and you want that HVAC system to be sized appropriately so that it can be constantly cycling air and making sure that you're burning off any humidity. And a lot of people are using higher efficiency systems, like we've used the split systems where you're able to run a higher energy efficiency rated unit, variable speed. So at a variable speed, you'll have it running at low demand, and that way you get like 700 different speeds instead of just running all out with your air conditioner. So in considering the way that we build with the hybrid barndominium, we're usually kind of a little bit more discouraging people to use gas furnaces, to use, it's okay to use it on the range, but we're trying to promote not using gas where we'd have to create penetrations in the walls, or in the ceilings, or wherever. We're trying to eliminate penetrations in our wall systems. And that's what, when you're building for air tightness, it's not the best thing always to have holes in your bubble. So you're wanting to, and that's why a lot of times we're putting in fresh air as well. We're bringing in fresh air from outside because we're controlling and dampening how much, fresh air we're bringing in based on what's needed into the atmosphere of the home. So, that's just kind of the difference of kind of where everything's gone. And, building with that intensity makes you consider different things. So you don't want to have a huge air conditioner system that's just blowing too much air, because as soon as you do that, your system's going to cut off and you're not cycling air. So you want to size it appropriately, and we can technically get about 750 or more per square foot per ton. So 750 square feet per ton, easily we can get sometimes even more for the units size that you use with the spray foam methods. So in the typical applications on a conventional frame where you're losing more air, they have to size those units higher. So you can only get maybe 500 square feet, somewhere in that range per ton. So that's an advantage to building an airtight home and building a hybrid barndominium, is you're building for this air tightness. So not everybody does it the same. Now my goal, my agenda is not to sit here and say the way everybody else is doing it is wrong. But I will say that I feel like that, using the systems and the methods that we're using, it does enable us to achieve better flashings. It does enable us to give a better quality product when it's all said and done, so that for the long term and the longevity of the home, it's going to have greater performance for many more years to come. And so I think it's a big difference maker. So, you know, you got to take all that in consideration. A lot of people don't understand the differences, but they're just saying barndominium or bust, you know. And I think you just need to take a little more different approach than that. It can't all be about just trends. You know, it has to be, let's build for the longevity, let's build for durability. You know, all of it. It all makes a big difference. And so this is where we've taken those methods, is to include some of this as our standard and saying, hey, I don't want to do anything less, in this case, than a hybrid barndominium. And for me, this is what a hybrid barndominium is. You know, is having an airtight, you know, efficient home that's built for longevity with better window flashings, door flashings, all these kind of things. It's a different class. It's a different classification. Now, where my concern is, and let me just put this out there, my concern is for all the people that are, you know, barndominium or bust, that are building barndominiums that are, you know, there's a lot going on, is where the fallout is going to be, is where people aren't using good practices to get their window flashing details, all these kind of things done. It's going to create a wave of controversy for this trend, okay? And there's going to be a wave of people that are looking at barndominiums in a negative sense. If we don't build as an industry with a certain standard, then it's not going to be respected as a certain standard. And so I just want to encourage you guys, as you are making your decisions and as you're building your barndominiums, that let's think about the details, because if you want to have this be a viable option and people to take it seriously, then we need to take seriously how we construct and how we put this stuff together, so that for the long haul, it can be a well-rounded option for people for many years to come. And so that's what we're looking to do here at Texas Best. And so we're going to keep putting that out there. I'm going to keep putting the pressure on better flashings, you know, better systems along the way. Now, you have to kind of compromise along the way. You know, we can't all be, I can't do everything that, like I said, I see my buddy Matt Reisinger do. I mean, they have so many things and things out there. I can't be all the way over there if I'm going to build any type of volume, you know, to make that part of our standard. Now it may come a time where we're not being a production builder. It may come a time where it's only specific people that we're building for, and you know, we're building spec homes, these kind of things. It may come a time where that's the case. And at that time, you know, you may see us go a little farther down the road with some extremities in how we construct and how we build. So just wanted to kind of lay that out there. I'm going to show you guys a little bit more of this property, and hope you've enjoyed this video so far. This is the front of the house, and it's got a decorative porch and a lot of windows in this build, which I think is going to be really, really nice. But the way the layout is the function, you'll be able to kind of come up this way. You'll have your shop over here and access here, which is a pretty cool little layout. All right, guys, I am standing like in this game room area. And, you know, in this case, I want to show you, we wouldn't normally have to frame across this, but our clients had a ceiling drawn here, and they were adamant, wanted to have this lower, I believe. And, you know, you can kind of see what it entails. None of this is really load bearing. It's just supporting, you know, it's not supporting the roof. It's only supporting the ceiling. So we've got some extra bracing and stuff that we've done up here. But this is that 2x6 wall that we're talking about right here. And that's the zip system. And you can kind of see how that comes across. And currently we've got zip tape on the exterior. But this is just kind of the beginning stages of how we set this up. You know, this ceiling's coming across. Now, if this was any longer than what it is, we would have to step it up and add additional, you know, beams or trusses or whatever to reach some long span like this space. Because in order for me to put a lower ceiling here, I've got to now create a structure that's beyond what I'm using for my ceiling. So this is where the advantage is, and you know, they're going to have this vault, because this is the game room here, and it's going to, you know, open up, but it's going to look back here into the living area. But the real advantage here is having this vault without it costing you an arm and a leg to put trusses and all these kind of things. So what we do is we run these sleeper studs that run this way, and there's 2 fasteners in each connection, which are tech screws, coated tech screws, and which are self-fasteners, but they're really high-end screws, very expensive as well. But this is a great space. I mean, a lot of windows here. So this is the back porch, and all of these porches get covered soffits back here. So we'll have to get electrical and all that stuff in there. But then this is where the kitchen area is going to be. We'll have an island. I'm not sure which side does which, living or dining. But that's the front porch, looks out that way. It's all about the windows on this one. But you can see also we have plastic here that goes underneath that sheeting, because on the outside we're going to have stone that runs all the way around. So this is how we usually cut up and go with the zip. We take it all the way up so that as we seal off and spray foam, that's going to be a really nice tight area. And then we've got, you know, stone that's going to go all the way around over here. And this is like the, we got a leak here. We gotta get those windows in pretty soon. So we got a bathroom here, and then we've got, I believe, not sure which side is master bedroom. I can't remember off the top of my head, but these rooms here are actually similar size. This is a really neat layout. And it opens up into here, and you've got, I believe, a closet from both. Here, this closet joins into like our laundry area, and which is nice. And then we have another bedroom over here. So pretty simple, you know, and different layout for sure. It's gonna have a different appeal to it. But you can see all of our ceiling joists. Most of these spans, we use 2x6s for these spans. And we have 9-foot ceilings in here with standard size doors. Now we did raise up the window levels here because they wanted to add some transoms over top, which makes it really feel good. This is the shop area, which is, man, this is going to be one big shop. And we've got a couple overhead doors here. I'm trying to remember the dimensions here, but it's approximately like a 60 by 40, somewhere in that nature. Might be a little less than that, but it's a pretty good sized little shop. But you know, our guys have kind of gotten the practice of adding some bracing and stuff along those ways. So we actually have this a little bit stronger and then just your regular purlins. So it gives a little bit of that Z strength. And we've got our purlin walls. And one thing that you'll notice that we always do is we'll run a full purlin on the bottom, like a receiver channel. And what this enables us to do is, so when we come in here, if our client wants to add walls here, they can fasten right here instead of just using the standard base angle down there. That's just already ready to go. So that's something that we've made a part of our system as well. But yeah, the way this is meant to work is to, you know, functionality. The shop is actually detached from the house. All right, guys, well, that's all I got for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. We're gonna be working to bring you guys more content week to week. We've got some tour videos coming out, stuff like that, but I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know down in the comments below, what's your thoughts on a hybrid barndominium? Because that's what, you know, I guess we're titled a hybrid barndominium. You know, at first I didn't like the title, but it is what it is. Barndominium or bust, or hybrid barndominium. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. I'm Josh Helm, wishing you all the best. Thanks for watching. Texas Best.